What is going on, everyone? Welcome into Big Time Football Talk. So today I got a huge episode. Today we're going to dive deep into the mock draft 1.0. We're going to talk about the Parsh Big Board for the top NFL prospects for the upcoming draft. Guys, just over 2 weeks away. I can't wait. It's going to be an awesome draft. Should be a lot of fun. So I'll go over some of my big board real quick. So yeah, top of the list, Trevor Lawrence. Not much of a surprise here. Best quarterback prospect in the draft. I think most most would agree with this. I don't think this is much of a debate. I actually have Justin Fields number 2 on my big board, number 2 quarterback prospect. I think I'm kind of in the minority with this one, but Justin Fields is my number 2 quarterback prospect. I think 40 touchdowns, 1 interception. In the regular season, leading up before the playoffs, just 3 interceptions total that season as a sophomore. Field's ability to just throw the ball downfield and his athleticism, running in the 4.4s. To me, I think that, I am in the minority when I say this too, that I think Fields could be better than Lawrence in the long term. And I think if he goes to the right fit, hint, hint, wink, wink, where maybe he might go, that he could have a better career than Trevor Lawrence. But as of now, yeah, I think Lawrence is just such a polished prospect, and he's a guy that's worked so hard for a long time and is pretty deserving of the number 1 spot. So, number 3, Ja'Marr Chase, wide receiver from LSU. Ja'Marr Chase was a guy that I noticed back in 2019 after the Texas game. I knew this guy was, destined to be something special. Had a breakout game in that game, and went on to have a monster 2019 season. Former Bolitnikoff winner for best wide receiver that year. Ja'Marr Chase is just an absolute stud and tested off the charts at the combine and has been working his tail off in the offseason and staying in shape. So Ja'Marr Chase comes in at number 3. Number 4, Kyle Pitts. And Kyle Pitts is just kind of everyone is just in love with Kyle Pitts, and he's a guy that tested off the charts at the combine. 6'5", height was like 7 foot wingspan, ran a 4.4, and calling him just a tight end is really just a disservice. What he could do in the NFL and how good he could be really is his potential is just through the roof, and one team is going to get lucky. Whoever gets Kyle Pitts, who knows? He could go. He's easily likely to go top 5. So Kyle Pitts. Go through some of the notable ones. Zach Wilson, number 5. Penei Sewell at 6. Sewell, I think, is the best offensive lineman in this draft. One of the best as far as pure run blockers, one of the best run blockers I've ever evaluated. Just an absolute animal. 320 pounds and just can move like he's 200 pounds. Just a freak. But number 7, Jaelan Phillips. Jaelan Phillips I could even have higher on this list. I absolutely love Jaelan Phillips and what he can do as an edge rusher. I had an episode when Jack Smith called in. I kind of said that there isn't really that guy that's like the Nick Bosa, the Myles Garrett pass rusher, but I think Jaelan Phillips is close, to be honest. And, if he played like a couple years and had the production he had this year, I think we would be talking him about in the same breath as like a Chase Young, Myles Garrett. And I think he has that potential. Brett Coleman did an episode on him, comparing him to J.J. Watt, which is very high praise, and saying that, Jaelan Phillips just, not a lot of weaknesses, and his ability as a true pure pass rusher is just incredible. So, yeah, Jaelan Phillips comes in at number 7, could even be higher on this list. Very likely the best pass rusher in the draft, and could go on to have people talk about Kyle Pitts going on to have a Hall of Fame Gold Jacket career. Jaelan Phillips could also easily go on to have a Hall of Fame Gold Jacket career. Concussion's one of the issue. Could be a little bit better against the run, but that's just purely nitpicking. But that's just one weakness I came away with as far as Jaelan Phillips. So Number 8, Micah Parsons. I think Micah Parsons is the second best defensive player in this draft, but a guy I just absolutely, but that's not much of a consolation because that's just how high I love Jalen Phillips. But I absolutely love Micah Parsons, and I don't, the off the field is a worry, but it sounds like he's cleaned that up, and his head is just looking straight ahead to the draft process. He stayed in shape, tested off the charts at his pro day, and his ability to play sideline to sideline is what the modern NFL really is. And Micah Parsons was just an absolute stud in 2019, and just was a guy that was just an absolute animal for the Penn State defense. And you talk to Penn State coaches, they rave about him, and yeah, his play showed. I mean, that game against Memphis was one of the best, most dominant college football games I've seen as a defender. Ranks up there with Ndamukong Suh versus Texas. If you guys remember that game, if you guys are younger, maybe you don't remember, that was back all the way in like 2009 or something, the Big 12 championship, where Ndamukong Suh had like 4.5 sacks or something. That's how dominant Parsons was in that Memphis game. It goes up as one of the most dominant by a defender. I don't even remember exactly what he had stats wise. It was just something absurd. It was like 12 tackles. I think he had like 2.5, 3 sacks, 4 or 5 tackles for loss. But yeah, so Micah Parsons comes in at 8. We'll go down the list. We'll kind of just start to go a little quicker down the list. Number 9 is Caleb Farley. Caleb Farley, I think, is the best corner in this draft, but Surtain is right there. But Caleb Farley, his hip fluidity is just incredible, and his ability to see to receivers like glue is really second to none. And if you watch the Chris Sims interview with him, this guy is super confident. And he wants to dominate. He wants to be the best. Chris Sims says he's the best corner he's evaluated since Jalen Ramsey, which is pretty high praise, I would say. And yeah, you can't really find a lot of weakness in Farley's game. Maybe could improve a little bit in zone coverage, I guess, if anything. But is just a incredible tackler and just a phenomenal athlete, really, to say the least. So Caleb Farley, number 1 corner, comes at the number 9 prospect, guy that could be higher. I know I've said that about a few guys, but that's just how highly I think of some of these defenders that are kind of being undervalued because of the quarterback class is so good. There's going to be guys that slip. Whoever gets Jalen Phillips later, Micah Parsons, Caleb Farley, these defenders I love, is getting a phenomenal player that are going to drop some spots because teams are so quarterback needy in the top 5 every season. So. But yeah, Caleb Farley comes in at number 9. Christian Darrisaw, my number 1 offensive tackle, at 10. Darrisaw is just a grown man, just hard to move, hard to get around, and which is pretty good ingredients for a dominant offensive tackle. Number 11, Patrick Surtain. Number 12, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Number 13, Jalen Waddle, wide receiver. Number 14, Devontae Smith, wide receiver. Number 15, Kwity Paye, edge rusher from Michigan. Kwity Paye, just a super quick twitch, disruptive guy. Hasn't have like the gaudy sack numbers, but Kwity Paye, just a disruptive force. And then Andre Cisco at safety. Chris Sims brought this up about Cisco, and he's a guy I initially liked, and then Chris Sims had him as the number 1. You go back and watch the tape. This dude is just all over the field, just an incredible open field tackler. Just a great rangy safety, has the ability to go intercept the ball, make tackles, just take great angles, just everything you want in a safety. Is a physical, tough hitter. So Andre Cisco, yeah, he is comes in at number 16 on my big board, just a phenomenal player. Elijah Vera Tucker, offensive tackle, comes in at number 17. Number 18, Levi Onwuzurike, defensive tackle. Onwuzurike, I love the defensive tackle position, and great D tackle play just really gets me amped up. And Onwuzurike is just so hard to block. And if you watch his tape, every play he is driving a guy back, whether it's even in double teams. The guy just plays with a good pad level and just disrupts the interior and is driving his guy back constantly. So Onwuzurike, you watch him on tape, and man, you just come away with a smile on your face, and that's That is a darn good player in Anzarike and defensive tackle. You don't always need a guy to rush the passer and be a freak in that sense like Aaron Donald, but a guy that just disrupts and plugs holes in the middle and just drives everything back like a Ndamukong Suh did for years is just I think that's what Zarike brings to the table, and that's why he comes in at my number one defensive tackle. I know a lot of people have Christian Barmore, but Barmore did not play, wasn't as consistent this season, even though he had some big games in the national championship. But there's other guys that have done that. They've had big games in the championship, and it's kind of bumped them up. There's an edge rusher from Clemson. Don't get me wrong, I think Barmore could be a phenomenal player in the NFL, but I think Anzarike is the best defensive tackle in this draft. So he comes in at number 18 on my big board, number one defensive tackle. Number 19, Kadarius Toney, wide receiver from Florida. A super ability to cut and get open. Really what represents Kadarius Toney. Number 20, Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle for Oklahoma State. Tevin Jenkins, just a physical, mean offensive tackle, just plays the position pissed off, and he is something to watch. His tape is fun to watch too. Number 21, Asa Adigizua. Or Osa is a guy that Adigizua, he really stood out to me on tape because this guy he is like Anzarike, just really gets a incredible pushback and really is disruptive. It's kind of tough to say what position he's going to play. Is he really a defensive end in a 3-4 scheme? Is he going to play D-tackle in a 4-3 scheme? He's kind of like a tweener in that case. But Osa Adigizua, I loved his tape, and he was so disruptive and showed ability to rush the passer and plug holes inside, play with power, play with speed. So that's why I loved Adigizua, and he comes into my number 2 defensive tackle. We'll see what the NFL does with him. But I love this guy, and that's why he comes in my number 21 prospect. Number 22, Jamin Davis, linebacker from Kentucky. Jamin Davis tested really well at the pro day. The only concern with Davis, he only had one full season starting, basically, which is kind of concerning why he didn't play early on. But like Parsons, could be a guy that runs sideline to sideline. Showed a great ability to play coverage and has great hands to intercept the ball. So, yeah, Jamin Davis comes in as my number 3 linebacker. Tyson Campbell, corner from Georgia. Tyson Campbell, you kind of are more going with the potential here in the athleticism and the hip fluidity and his ability to improve, because didn't really have the gaudy interception numbers, didn't really have some of the big plays, but Tyson Campbell is just a phenomenal athlete, similar to Caleb Farley, and he's a guy that hopefully can take the next step in the NFL in his development, because his hips and his speed, you kind of believe he could cover anyone in the NFL. If you watch him against Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle, the only big play he gave up was because he tangled legs and fell. So, and Tyson Campbell was never really cooked by any receiver and never really necessarily out physicaled. Even on catches he gave up, he was right there in position to make plays on the ball. So, yeah, number 23, Tyson Campbell. Number 24, Najee Harris. I'm just going to read the top 25 here. I'm not going to read my whole 50. Najee Harris, running back. Najee Harris, could be higher on this list for me, but the running back position is really devalued in the NFL, sadly. But Najee Harris, not a burner as far as straight line speed. But like I talked with my dad, Najee Harris is he's just a great football player. I mean, his pass blocking is underrated. He can catch the ball. He just does everything really well. And that's why Najee Harris is my best running back in the draft. You have a strong argument for Travis Etienne, who comes in at number 27 on my list. But I just love Najee Harris and all the different attributes he brings to the table. Number 25, Terrence Marshall, wide receiver from LSU. Terrence Marshall is a guy that's really kept climbing up draft boards, and a guy that has dealt with some injuries at LSU. Kind of was the number 3 wide receiver for in 2019 in the LSU title run. Didn't really get talked about as much as Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. But Terrence Marshall, his ability at running 4.38 and his size and athleticism and hands, he's got the ingredients to be a darn good NFL wide receiver. And people are really projecting that, and that's why he is shot up the board. So some of the other notables, I actually just did a top 30. Some of the other notables: Rashawn Slater at 26, offensive tackle. Travis Etienne, 27, running back, and then Jason Owe, 28, edge rusher. Owe could be higher on this list, but just the production, the sack numbers weren't there. And that Chris Sims had the argument, it's not all about production. He doesn't even really look at stats at all, but I think stats matter somewhat. Because, I don't know, like, I can't think of, like, a good analogy for this, but you have to, stats are important. We keep track of stats for a reason. If they weren't important, we wouldn't keep track of them. So I think the sack production, I think there's a bit of concern there. I think he could improve, like, his, his tools as far as a pass rusher with his hands. But yeah, the disruption really was there, and he really wreaked havoc as far as getting in the backfield. So, and then number 29, Paulson Adebo at corner. I love Paulson Adebo. The guy's got length, speed. He loves to come up and make plays. Opted out in 2020, but Paulson Adebo, the talent's there, and I think he's one of the most slept-on guys in the NFL draft. And then number 30, Dyami Brown from wide receiver from North Carolina. Brown, could make a case as a top 3 receiver in this draft. He's that explosive. He's put up big numbers the last 2 years at North Carolina and is one of the best pure deep ball threats in the draft. I'd say him and Jalen Waddle, so he comes in at number 30 on the list. And that's going to wrap up my top 30 big board. So let's get straight to it. The Parsh mock draft, or Big Time Football Draft mock 1.0 kind of goes along with my big board. See, and things to consider when I list my mock draft here. This is mostly what I think, with a mix of kind of what I think will happen, and I go off mostly what I think will happen, my big board, and then my big board second, and then kind of what I think will happen. Like, for example, okay, I'll just say this. Like, I think I would, if I was the Jets, I would probably take Fields or Penei Sewell at tackle. But it looks like it's likely they're going to take Zach Wilson. So I'm just going to put Zach Wilson in there. Like, or Trevor Lawrence we'll start, okay, I'll just give that away too. Trevor Lawrence at 1. Like, it's very likely that, like, if I was Jacksonville, I might even consider, Justin Fields. It's how high I am on Justin Fields. But it's, they're going to take Trevor Lawrence. So there's no point in me saying that Jacksonville's going to take Justin Fields, because it's likely, very, very likely not going to happen. So just some things to keep in mind as I go through this. Just had to get a quick drink of water there. So, number 1, Trevor Lawrence. I think this has been this I don't need to go too into depth with, but Urban Meyer says they're heading towards that direction when Peter King asked him in an interview. So, looks like this will be the pick. Zach Wilson at number 2 to the New York Jets. Zach Wilson, a guy that a lot of people love. Some people have him as their number 1 quarterback. He's my number 3 quarterback, number 5 on my big board. Zach Wilson, the talent really jumps out. I think that the maturity issues could be a problem. Supposedly that was a rumor, but I don't like hearing any of that. And that is a concern to me, because your head has to be so focused and ready to go once you get to the NFL. My dad and I were talking the other night that, the NFL, you can't win out with talent. Like, Vince Young is a guy that always sticks out to me, because Vince Young was just so phenomenal of a talent, high school, college. When you get to the NFL, you have to have that phenomenal work ethic like Josh Allen for Buffalo has, because you can't just win with pure athleticism in the NFL, especially at the quarterback position. Look at Tom Brady. He's not the most athletic guy by any means, just work ethic, film study, second to none, and that's the reason why he excels in the NFL. And if Zach Wilson is not completely focused on improving and getting better, especially in a poor franchise like the Jets, and it's just a recipe for disaster, really. So that's why I'm leery. I would be leery if I was the Jets with Zach Wilson, even though that could be a rumor and could be complete nonsense. Any sort of thing like that is a worry for me at the quarterback position, especially. But nonetheless, Zach Wilson to the Jets at number 2. Number 3, Justin Fields to the 49ers. This is the pick. If there's one pick that I want to happen other than, my Lions taking the guy that I'll get to, it's Justin Fields to the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan's coaching could really take Justin Fields to the level that he wants to be in the NFL and the 49ers want him to get to and really maximize that talent in an outstanding, super fun to watch offense. Justin Fields has the ability to get this team with that defense back, Bosa and some of the guys they lost with injuries back to the Super Bowl like in 2019. And I would just love to see Fields go to the 49ers. Number 4, the Atlanta Falcons taking Kyle Pitts, tight end from Florida. Pitts is arguably the best player, the best non-quarterback in this draft. Kyle Pitts has just been talked about with utter just complete awe. He is just a phenomenal tight end prospect, phenomenal prospect in general. Like I said, sometimes you could argue calling him tight end as a disservice. So Atlanta, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, Kyle Pitts. This could be, Matt Ryan's getting up there in age. This could be one of their last hurrah. So you get him another weapon in Kyle Pitts, and I think a lot of people would just love to see what happens there. So number 5, Penei Sewell to the Bengals. I was kind of already talking about Jamar Chase going to the Bengals, but the bottom line, you can find elite wide receivers in other rounds, and like Jamar Chase and Sewell, I think Chase, I don't know. Chase may be the better prospect, but the thing is, you can't find a lot of guys like Penei Sewell later in the draft. Elite tackles go, in the top 20 to 10 picks in the NFL draft. The bottom line, in an elite or run blocker like Penei Sewell is so hard to find. And the Bengals do need help at the offensive line, so it's a mix of needs. And also they're okay at receiver, and then finding a good receiver, second, third round, not even a good one. You can find an elite one second or third round. So, but you can't always find a guy like Penei Sewell in the second or third round. So that's the pick for the Bengals. Jamar Chase goes to the Dolphins at number 6. Jamar Chase, my best wide receiver prospect in the draft. Like I said, tested off the charts. And, give Tua another weapon and see what he can do. Number 7, my Detroit Lions going Micah Parsons. Bottom line, the Lions need help desperately at the linebacker position, and they need speed on that side of the ball. So you get Micah Parsons, who I think is arguably the best defensive player in the draft. My number 1 linebacker in the draft. I think it's a good combination and a good deal for the Lions here at number 7. Some people think they can move back and still get Parsons because of the character issues. Some teams aren't going to draft him. We'll see what happens here. Micah Parsons, number 7, is the pick. Number 8, the Carolina Panthers, Christian Darrisaw. Carolina just added Sam Darnold via trade, so you get him Darrisaw to protect him. I think it's a good fit. Carolina could go a few other ways. They could go receiver. They could go corner here, but Darrisaw, my number 1 offensive tackle in the draft, just a monster of a man and a guy that's really hard to get by because of his physical big stature. So that's the pick here at number 8. Number 9, Caleb Farley to the Denver Broncos. Caleb Farley, like I said, the best corner in the draft, and the Broncos already have a pretty solid secondary now with Kyle Fuller, Justin Simmons. You add Caleb Farley to that secondary, and that's a scary looking secondary for 2021 in a good way. Number 10, the Cowboys have some good options here. Number 10, I think Patrick Surtain makes a lot of sense. He's a guy they love. They've really scouted hard at the pro day. They had several scouts watching Surtain, watching him run, watching him work out. So, and they need help at the cornerback position. Last year took Trayvon Diggs, who played pretty well, his former teammate. So they get Surtain here to help them on the defensive side of the ball and help them in pass coverage. Number 11, we have the Giants taking Jaelan Phillips. The Giants really need help at the edge rusher position. You get a guy like Jaelan Phillips from Miami, and that'll clear up a lot of those problems. Phillips, like I said, probably the best pure pass rusher in the draft, and they already have some good guys and good players in the interior. Delvin Tomlinson and it's Dexter Lawrence. So you get a guy like Jaelan Phillips, and you could be looking at a very much upgraded defensive line. Number 12, we have the Eagles taking Devontae Smith. The Eagles have really struggled to, hit on the wide receiver position last year. Jalen Reagor, who was a guy I liked, but he was hurt this year. So it looks like if you're going to roll with Jalen Hurts, you get him another weapon. Devontae Smith, one of the best route runners and a guy that's just very good at getting open. And a guy like, Jalen Hurts, who loves the safe throw and loves to find, his first, second read, guy that's open. Devontae Smith makes a lot of sense. So Devontae Smith, the pick at number 12. Number 13, we have the LA Chargers taking Elijah Vera Tucker, tackle from USC. Bottom line is Herbert had one of the worst offensive lines in football. You give him Elijah Vera Tucker and you give him more time to throw, it's just gonna help Justin Herbert even more. And the Chargers are a team that really haven't really spent a lot on the offensive line. So Elijah Vera Tucker, my number 2 offensive tackle, goes here to the Chargers, which I think would be a great pick for them. Number 14, the Vikings, we have them taking Kwity Paye, defensive end for Michigan. Kwity Paye is a guy that is kind of the consensus number 2 edge rusher in this draft, and had a pretty solid career at Michigan. And the Vikings need help on the defensive side of the ball. Their defense really wasn't what it was this year. You get them Kwity Paye, and that'll really help up that side of the ball a lot. So. Number 15, we have the New England Patriots taking Jalen Waddle, wide receiver. The Patriots have kind of whiffed on some of the wide receivers and just prospects they've taken in recent years. N'Keal Harry has not really been that great for them. Some of their drafts picks have just kind of been whiffs, but you get them a guy like Jalen Waddle, who is arguably the second best wide receiver in this draft, and is just so good at creating big plays. I think that is just exactly what New England needs. They've already added 2 great tight ends. You had Jalen Waddle, a speedster, at the wide receiver position, and New England is going to be in good shape offensively heading into next year. Number 16, we have the Cardinals taking Levi Onwuzurike, defensive tackle from Washington. This really goes with needs. Cardinals really need some help on the interior. You get them a guy like Onwuzurike, and that'll just help improve the interior and make you more stout against the run inside. So that's the pick there. Number 17, we have the Las Vegas Raiders taking Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. The Raiders could not cover last year and really struggled on the defensive side of the ball. You give them arguably the best coverage linebacker in the draft in Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame, and that'll help a lot. A guy that John Gruden I could see falling in love with because of his athleticism and his ability to make plays and run sideline to sideline. So I think it's a good fit. Owusu-Koramoah at number 17. Number 18, the Dolphins were going Rashawn Slater, getting Tua some more help and pass protection. Number 19, we have the Washington football team going Terrence Marshall, wide receiver from LSU. Washington could use another wide receiver to complement Terry McLaurin on that side of the ball, and they go Terrence Marshall, a big outside receiver that runs a 4.3. So will help whoever Washington has throwing the ball on offense. Number 20 and the last pick we'll do for this mock draft, we have the Bears taking Jason Owe, edge rusher for Penn State. We kind of help the Bears defense here with this pick to get even better. Owe is arguably the second best edge rusher in this draft, and his disruption is just what the Bears need. And another guy with, you got Khalil Mack, Roquan Smith. You had another, potential elite player on that defense, and that is, just gonna rich get richer here. But yeah, so that's gonna do it. I'm just gonna go through, the top 20 picks here. So that's the Big Time Football Talk mock draft. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun. I really like my picks here. I think a lot of these picks make sense, and we'll see what happens here. Yes, no Trey Lance, no Mac Jones. I'm just not very high on these guys at quarterback. Some of the guys that didn't go that I in the top 20: Barmore, Trevon Moehrig, Walker Little. So I did this with Pro Football Focus Mock Draft Simulator. If you guys don't have that, make sure you check that out. This is super fun to do, and you can select multiple teams. You can just pick with your team. So yeah, make sure you do that. So yeah, guys, that's my mock draft, and then that's my big board. Make sure to get ready to have a question prepped, or get ready to have some fun on the live stream I'm going to do for the NFL draft coming up in just over 2 weeks, or 2 weeks exactly from tomorrow, just over 2 weeks. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Stay tuned for more episodes from the show. Till next time, peace.